What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall markets. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about some new news involving Elon Musk and Tesla, and what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just remember that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total, and deposit $25,000 more, and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends very soon in just about 10 days. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with Tesla. So, as you guys know, Tesla is very, very choppy, very sideways. It's been like this for the last couple of days, the last week and a half, if anything. And ever since Tesla's robotaxi events, we saw Tesla dump quite a bit, and it's been stuck since. So, what Tesla's basically doing is it's waiting for earnings to make a much larger move. Otherwise, it just remains range bound. There were some instances where Tesla was a little bit weaker than the markets because of some new news that came out. So I want to talk about that as well. So let me first talk about what's happening with the economic data. Then I'll talk about Tesla news and I'll break down these charts in more details. All right. So firstly, just know that tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. 30 minutes after the market ends up opening, we have Harker from the Fed giving a speech. Then at 10 a.m., we also have the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index and the manufacturing shipment numbers all coming out. So look for some volatility tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Besides that, there's not really a whole lot else that's coming out, so we'll see what ends up happening to the markets. But just as a reminder for those who are around the world, I'm using New York time. This is Eastern Standard Time, the time they use for the New York Stock Exchange. I use that because that's the time that the stock market tends to use. So just remember that. There might be some volatility tomorrow at 10 a.m. Besides that, there's not really a whole lot else that's coming out for the markets. Now, something else that's going to be a big factor outside of economic data is going to be earnings. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday. Before the market opens, we have Verizon, GM, and 3M all announcing their earnings. This is very important because it'll affect communications and consumer discretionaries. Now, after that, there's not really much coming out after market close on Tuesday, but then Wednesday is going to be a massive day. It's just 2 days from now. Before the market opens, we have Boeing, AT&T, and Coca-Cola all announcing their earnings. It's going to have a big effect on, once again, communications and different sectors in the markets. And then we have the big one, Tesla, announcing earnings after the market closes on Wednesday. We have Tesla and IBM. Tesla's going to be the biggest one of the week. I can't wait to see what Tesla announces. And if you want Tesla stock to run, okay, we need Elon Musk to give us some positive announcements. We need the Tesla team to give us good guidance. We need something to really help this thing start pushing to fill the upper gap. Because if Tesla fails to do that, they don't really impress investors. And if just hypothetically there's some fear that emerges about the potential recession, Tesla sell projections or something like that, their margins are also going to be very important alongside guidance. So I'll be paying attention to all of that. But just to be very clear, I just want to make it very, very noteworthy that Tesla is in a very critical place. And if things don't go as planned or if it's not too great, there's still a risk of us dumping even more. So I want to be very honest about that. I'm not scared. I'm not worried about this. This is just another buying opportunity. Even if Tesla does dump, it's another opportunity to dollar cost average into those shares because the long term is still very bright. Technically speaking, you could argue there's an inverse head and shoulders on Tesla, but simultaneously, we can't rule out the possibility of this dipping again to retest these lows over here before it tries to rebound. There is one concern about this, though. Not every setup is guaranteed to pan out perfectly. And if we do get another dip phase, don't forget that there's still this gap down here in like the 140s. So if the 200 area fails us, we have the 180s, and then we have these next supports way down here. Not saying they're gonna have to, Tesla has to drop that low, but there's always that possibility, and you have to be prepared for that just to be safe. So the best thing to do is, if Tesla runs, we're gonna make money on our shares. If Tesla dumps, it is what it is. It's just another opportunity to dollar cost average. I don't care if it goes down to 200. I don't care if it fills the gap to 140. Either way, it's a buying opportunity, and I just see this as an opportunity for the long term. Tesla's a long term hold, despite what happens for the short term. I want to make that very, very clear. Anyways, for more data, the Fed has about an 86.8% chance of giving us a 50 basis point cut for November. And then there's about a 13.2% chance right now the market thinks that for a 25 basis point cut. We'll see what the Fed ends up doing. So be very open to that strong possibility of higher volatility. As far as Tesla goes, in terms of its news, there was some negative news involving Ford kind of swaying away its owners, the car owners, from using Tesla supercharger due to some slowdowns in the charging process. That's the first thing that's worth mentioning. The second thing is the fact that the Cybertruck is going to have the option to transfer FSD. I went over more details about each of those pieces of news in my earlier videos. Now there's a new piece of news that came out that's not that great. Elon Musk, Tesla, and Warner Bros. Discovery have been sued over alleged Blade Runner 2049 AI ripoff for the Cybercat promotion. That's what the headline is basically saying. So what's happening is basically there is an accusation of them once again committing copyright infringement over images from the Blade Runner 2049 to promote Tesla's robotaxi concept. Unfortunately, this is a lawsuit by Alcon Entertainment, and they're saying that Musk and the other defendants requested permission to use their image, and they claim that they denied it. So this is very important. We'll have to see how things end up going with this. So this is like what the image kind of like look like. You guys can see there's a still from Warner Bros. Discovery, and then Blade Runner is on like the other side. So this is Blade Runner, and this is like Warner Bros. On the right side. So we'll see, guys. I mean, it's not the best of news for Tesla. This is something else that they have to deal with. So we'll see how things end up going with this. Just hope for the best. Hopefully they come to an agreement. Hopefully Tesla, isn't charged too much, and we'll see how it goes. Or maybe things could end up on Tesla's side. Who knows? So we'll see what happens with the lawsuit. I just wanted to call it out that this is not the best of news, and with this going on, we'll see how they end up settling this. But we just have to keep that in our minds, at least for some time. GLJ Research gave Tesla a sell rating. Goldman Sachs gave them a neutral rating. And then Roth MKM gave us a neutral rating. So we're seeing a lot of neutral/sell ratings for Tesla. The price-price ratio is dipping as well, approaching these lows. And then after that, we also have this news right here about how Tesla's volume is at 47 mil. So very low volume, lots of chop. There's not much going on, even as short volume is dipping. So with that being said, that's it for Tesla's news and what I see for the broader markets. Now let's focus on the charts. What do I think is going to happen to the charts moving forward? So that's just quite simple. I think that Tesla's stuck within this range. Now, when you look at the 4-hour time frame, Tesla has the support to watch for around this 215 area. Every time we hit 215, we are seeing some buyers trying to defend Tesla. But then we have this tough resistance in the low 220s. So we're just in a range going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And there's not really a whole lot else that's going on. These are some very, very tight scalp levels. So for tomorrow, I think Tesla's just going to continue to trade sideways. We are kind of rejecting near this 20 EMA, so it might actually dip a little bit lower, take Tesla down to 215 again, then maybe bounce back up and continue to trade sideways. So I think Tesla's going to remain sideways. I'm not really expecting much for now, but on Wednesday, things could change, maybe right before earnings, maybe even after earnings comes out. We're going to be looking for a very big reaction. So we're just waiting for earnings. That's why Tesla's very, very lackluster right now. If we get a bullish piece of news and Tesla announces something huge during their earnings, they address a lot of concerns and they give us good guidance and hype up Tesla, this could start running for the 230s and eventually 240. If the opposite happens and earnings is a flop and Tesla does not really convince investors too much great stuff, we could be dumping to the 190s. So we'll see, guys. I will talk more about earnings maybe tomorrow, but that's what's on the agenda for Tesla. Lots of sideways price action between 215 and 220, and that's pretty much it. For SPY, I just want to say we have this tendency of riding our 20 EMA very nicely. So if you want proof of this, just check this out. We were basically holding our EMAs right here. We bounced off the green line. See that? We bounced off this green line. We bounced, bounced, bounced. Then we dipped below it into the 50 EMA and started to consolidate. And then again, for the last couple of weeks, SPY's been bouncing, 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 bouncing like a trampoline off this key support. So if you're bearish on SPY, we have to lose 582.43. If that fails us, we're looking for 580.5 all over again. As long as we hold this, though, there is potential for us to try to push up for 585. My gut is telling me that as long as we don't lose 582.4, I think the odds favor 585 tomorrow morning. We might be pushing for all-time highs. Then we could slow down and consolidate because we have some tough resistance around the mid 580s. Every time we hit that, we do get a bit of a slowdown. So look for some upside tomorrow as we're holding support for a bit of a push in the morning, and we'll see how it reacts as time goes on to this next resistance. But that's what my view is for SPY. For ES, we look a little bit more bullish because we're holding support very nicely. We're holding our key EMAs. Today, we dipped all the way down to our 50 EMA at 58.69. Then we got bought back up. If we lose 58.93, we're looking for 58.70 as our target. As long as we hold this, we're looking for a push for the 5900s. My gut tells me that we're holding support and this is going to try to rebound for 5900 as the most likely case, so long as we don't lose 58.93. So 5900 is very probable. We'll have to see if we push even higher. And so far, we're doing a very, very good job. I think that ES has potential to push for 5,900 plus, and then we'll have to see how things end up moving. But that's what I think is the most likely case, at least for ES trying to push higher, and we'll see how things go from here. Um, for others out there, we have Nvidia, which is very bullish right now. There's no sign of this thing rejecting yet. Let me just make it very clear that we got a nice push today, and we're still pushing in the after hours. If Nvidia loses 142, we're looking for 140 as our target. That's where we had previous resistance becoming supports. If we continue to break out, we're looking for basically 145 followed by 148. My gut tells me this is going to continue to push for 145 plus and try to break these highs. There's a good chance Nvidia pumps even more as we look at the charts. That's the most likely case. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been dipping a bit. It actually hit its 50 EMA, then held up very nicely. So we're stuck in a range between 66,997 and about 68,000 flat. So I think we're just kind of stuck between this range. We could attempt to rebound for 68,000. We'll see if this breaks or not. So give this the time it needs as we're stuck within this range. But that's what I believe is most likely going to be happening to Bitcoin. For others out there, such as NQ is trying to push even higher. If we end up dipping, we're looking for 20,460 as our support, followed by 20,400. And we have 20,560 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 20,600. So because we're holding our EMAs very nicely, we're going to continue to push for 20,600 as our target. So I think there's a very, very good chance that this will continue to pump. However, NQ is doing a very, very good job, and I think this may attempt to pump for that 20,600 area. So there's a very, very good chance that this will try to get that push. The QQQ, although it was at a high here, came down, at a lower high and came down. It's actually trying to push to the highs again. We're holding our support very nicely. If we lose 493.4 tomorrow, look for 490.98 as our target. As long as we hold that support, I think the odds are favoring 496 plus. There's a good chance we try to push higher. That's going to be the most likely case. For Apple's trying to push higher. Just know at 237 we have a tough resistance. It's very tough. If it rejects here, we're going to be dipping back down towards 235. And if that fails us, we're looking for 233. If we break 237, then we're going to be looking for a bigger pump. So we're kind of stuck in this range. I think Apple pushes for 237.5 tomorrow morning. We'll see if it rejects or not. It is a tough resistance historically. So give it the time it needs, but so far there is upside potential. With that being said, let's go over the rest of these. I'm going to be a little bit quick. I said in my video yesterday that Netflix is going to push a little bit higher, but then be careful because once we get to about close to 775, we're looking for some tough resistance. I think Netflix, could be hitting 770 to 775. Maybe it goes a little bit higher, but eventually it is due for a slight pullback after it pumps so much. So it could be returning into the 760s. So look for a little bit more upside for 775 or a little bit above that before it starts to slow down a bit. That would be completely normal as it's showing some signs of exhaustion. For CELH or Celsius, we're kind of making downwards directional moves right now as we're making lower highs right here. Look for an attempt to get up to 32.75 to 33. If that breaks, we go back up to 33.8, almost 34. And if we reject here, we're going to be dipping back down. Look for a test of 33 tomorrow. If that rejects, we're going to be dipping back down towards 31.5. My gut tells me that we're making lower highs. We had a high here, came down, hit a high, came down, hit a high, came down. Might hit a high, then come back down. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. For Palantir, we're making lower highs. We had a high here, came down, made a lower high, came down. And now, despite that, we're trying to form a cup here. So it's in a very, very interesting range right now. So it's kind of like stuck in between these different levels. If we lose 42.5, we're looking for a dip back down towards 41.5. If we hold this, we're looking for a push back up for 43.5. My gut tells me that 42.5 is going to hold. This is going to try to push it for 43. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. Supermicro is holding support very nicely at 47.73. If this holds, we're looking for basically a push back up towards the 50 area. If this rejects, we're looking for basically a move right back down towards the supports. If 47.73 fails us, we're looking for a dip back down towards 46.8. My gut tells me it's holding support nicely, so it's going to be looking for a push for 50, and there's a good chance it tries to pump. For Rivian, we're on a bit of a downtrend right here. We're actually losing our 20 EMA. Watch 10.13 is our resistance and support all the way down here towards 10. Might dip to 10, then rebound to 10.13, just continue to trade sideways. But overall, it's on a bit of a downtrend. For SoFi, we're actually holding support very nicely. If we lose 10 flat, we're looking for a dip. And we have 10.5 as our resistance. I think that this is a tough resistance, so we could be dipping a little bit before it tries to continue higher. So look for a test of 10.3 before it tries to push for 10.5 again. If that breaks, we're looking for a bigger pump. I think SoFi looks bullish on the 4 hours, so this does favor upside. Might dip first, forming kind of like a cup and handle before it tries to push out. I think 10.8 and 11 are eventually coming. So look for a dip and a bounce. For the IWM, we're looking a little bit more bearish. Look at 22.16 or 222.1. 222.16, excuse me, guys. Watch that as our resistance. If we hold above this, we're looking for a rebound. And if we lose this, we're looking for 220.5. We're stuck in the middle, so we'll see if 222 holds or not. So give this the time it needs. I do see a risk of this dipping lower, though. So just be very mindful of that before it tries to rebound. For AMD, we're making lower highs right now. We have 158 as our resistance. If this rejects, we're going to be looking for a move back down. We look a little bit more bullish. It is possible it tries to push it for 160, but I do think that later on, it will come back down to fill that gap. So look for a push initially closer to 160, and we'll see if it rejects later on. ARM could be making lower highs right here. We have resistance at 153 and support at 150.25. Might be pushed for 155 before it tries to reject, so give this the time it needs. For coin, we're making lower highs right here. I think it's going to consolidate between 207 and 220, going back and forth in this range. Look for a little rebound for the 215 plus area before it dips back down for some sideways price action as the most likely case. Amazon dumped today only to get bought back up. So buyers are defending Amazon nicely as we're making lower or higher lows, higher lows are being made. So 190 plus is likely coming, so we'll have to see how things end up going. For Meta, we're kind of stuck in the middle, might try to rebound for that 579 area. I want to call out that Meta has a nice falling wedge. So this typically leads to upside if you hold above 575. If 575 holds tomorrow, we're looking for 580 plus. If this rejects, we're going to be dipping back down to about 568. So it depends if we break out of this wedge above 575 to push up for 579 or not. So give this the time it needs. For Microsoft, we're stuck in this range between 420 and about 414. We might push for 420, dip back down to 417, just continue to trade sideways. So give this the time it needs. For Google, and Google has this resistance around this 166 area, and we have the support around this 164 zone. We're kind of stuck in the middle. We're looking to see if 166 breaks, so watch and see how this ends up going. I think there's a good chance we try to push higher for 166, and then we'll have to see how things end up going. So watch and see if that ends up being the case for a small push on Google, and we'll see what it does after that. DJT is holding its 20 EMA, so it might be pushing for 32.5 and higher. For the VIX, we're looking a little bit more bearish. We have a gap to fill below, so maybe the market pumps more as this starts to dip. So the VIX still looks kind of weak here. We also have this imbalance below, so maybe the market continues this pump. For the 10-year, we're breaking out. We're still looking bullish as we approach FOMC. And the dollar remains bullish, but it's not really affecting the market as much, so we're just waiting to see if there's a delayed reaction or not. I believe the VIX will break out above the 36 area either in November, if not by early next year because of the recession during one of those periods. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I do have a feeling it might be after the election, maybe, because we still have that rising wedge on SPY, which could slow down the markets. So we will see if the rising wedge pans out or not. That remains on SPY. We have a triple bearish divergence as well, which tends to suggest there's downside coming, but there's no sign of that downside yet because we haven't lost 578 or our 50 EMA yet. So the market has not lost key support. It remains bullish. It's going to likely try to continue to push. So we have to just follow the trend for now because the trend is your friend. If you go against it, you could end up bleeding. So keep that in mind in terms of your portfolios. For Tesla, Tesla's consolidating in this range. It's going to continue to do that until we get to earnings. So we just have to wait and see how things go. That's all I see for Tesla, guys. I think that we could see a little bit of a pop in the morning, then a dip back down. Look for 215 to be retested and then a bounce to 220, just going back and forth for now. And then we'll have to see how things end up going with earnings. But with that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate you guys for your attention. So please don't forget to leave a like button if you guys really like this video. I will be back tomorrow before the market opens. So before market open in America, that is basically for the New York Stock Exchange time. Right before that opens, I will be uploading another video. I'll give you guys more insights on what I see for the charts during the pre-market. And as of right now, I do favor upside a little bit more for the broader markets, and I favor consolidation for Tesla until we see a big reaction after earnings. Sometimes my videos have to change intraday because the market can make, indecisive moves, unexpected things could happen. So that's just a normal part of trading. But the majority of the time I am consistent and I try my best to give you guys as accurate of an analysis as possible. So anyways, thank you all so much for listening. I know I did imply that there is possible downside potential for Tesla because of the recession that's coming up. And that's completely normal. I know it's hard for people out there, but just know that I'm trying to be very honest about the truth and just look at it as an opportunity. Don't be pessimistic, be optimistic, and look at this as a great opportunity for the long term. All right, that's it for my video. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and peace out.